Hello, everybody. We're going live from Richmond Hill in Ontario. So that's to let you know I'm not in my regular settings, so you may hear things going on here and dogs barking, etc. Sorry about that. Before we move forward, let me introduce myself. My name is Al Parsai. I'm a regulated Canadian immigration consultant. I take question here and you don't need to repeat yourself. I will read the questions and answer them one by one. Today's session might be a little bit shorter than usual, but let's see. So this is what we have in immigration news in the past few days. The first one is that there is a chance that Ontario is going to implement a vaccination passport. This means that most likely we won't have more lockdowns but limitations for people who have not received their vaccinations in Ontario. For those of you who don't know where Ontario is the largest province in Canada in terms of population, not in terms of area. And Ottawa, the capital of Canada, is located in Ontario, and the largest city of Canada, Toronto, is the center or capital of Ontario in Canada. So the next one that we need to know is that since August 9th, that the government of Canada by the way, I will just post the link here. And for those of you who are watching the recording, I will post the link below the video later on about the passport vaccine. But in terms of the travelers to Canada, on August 9th, the government of Canada decided to open its borders to the United States. So people who are citizens of the United States or residents of the United States, they may travel to Canada if they are fully vaccinated. And because of that, we had a surge in the number of travelers to Canada. Also, Canada on the same day removed the mandate of a quarantine hotel, and that also contributed to the number of people who are traveling to Canada. And if you want to know more about those changes and how it has affected travel to Canada, hi Club Fred. So you can read this news piece on our website. Now, in terms of immigration to Canada, in fact, Ontario, I believe it was back in 2015, introduced a new immigration program at the time for master's degree graduates. These are the people who study masters at one of the acceptable universities in Ontario. When they graduate, if they take the IELTS test and their test result is IELTS 7 or higher, then they do not need to have a job offer to apply for immigration through the Ontario system. That's the master's stream. It has been around for a while now. I think it's 5 or 6 years. And we also have a program for PhD graduates in Ontario. They do not even need to present IELTS test results or IELTS 7 because they already have done a PhD in Canada. What happened was that we had so many of those applicants, and every time that they opened the immigration option for those applicants, unfortunately, it was filled almost immediately. And that's why the government decided to adopt something called an EOI system or expression of interest system. This means that if you are here in Ontario and you're studying your master's or PhD, when you graduate, you can enter the pool of expression of interest. There is a point system. You compete with the rest of people. And every now and again, the government invites a group of those people to apply. So the government of Ontario invited 326 candidates eligible under the master graduate program just last week. And if you want to know more, you can check out this news piece, I just posted in the chat box. I will post the link below this video. Again, I'm not in my regular setting, so if you hear noises, etc., sorry about that. I'll try to be as quick as possible. We'll probably wrap up this session a little bit sooner than usual, but I just wanted to be with you. So Hasibullah says hi, hi. Muren, hi. Barry says, I'm PR applicant, applied December 2009, yet no interviews, no medical exams. So obviously, I don't know what immigration option you picked, but generally, unfortunately, everything is in shambles. We have so many clients that they submitted their applications for different kinds of applications, and none of them have been invited, or the applications are stuck and they are not being processed. So this is a phenomenon that we know. Of course, always immigration comes with delays and wait times, etc. But that has been exacerbated because of the situation with COVID-19. And I don't know when this will be over, but hopefully it will be over soon. Let's keep our fingers crossed. So continuing with the news, the other one is that also Quebec has introduced a vaccination passport. So it's not a good, it's not a bad idea if you read the news piece on our website. I don't want to go into the details of it. Let me see. Last week was not a very busy week. So Saskatchewan and Prince Edward Island, they did some draws. So I just quickly go through them. So in terms of Saskatchewan, Saskatchewan is one of the provinces of Canada that is in the prairie area. It means on the western side, close to the middle of Canada. Saskatchewan is between the provinces of Manitoba and Alberta. Manitoba is on the east side of Saskatchewan, and Alberta is on the west side of Saskatchewan. It has two major cities, Regina, which is the capital of Saskatchewan, and its largest city, Saskatoon. And they have a program called Occupations in Demand, or OID. They have a list of specific occupations, and if you qualify, they invite you to apply to immigrate to Canada. It has a point system. The maximum number of points that you could receive is 100. If your points are less than 60, you cannot even enter the pool of competition. And the lowest score this time that they actually invited somebody was 70. And considering that about 30 points of 100 points means association with the province, for example, working in the province, education in the province, those kind of things, 70 out of 100 means that for those people who were outside the province of Saskatchewan and they applied for occupations in demand, they basically didn't have a chance to be selected. But regardless, Saskatchewan invited 335 people last week to apply under occupations in demand. This is a pure PNP program. It means that the province will invite you, you submit your documents to the province. If they approve you, you will receive a certificate of nomination and you directly apply for permanent resident through the federal government. However, they also invited 161 people under the express entry system. These are the people that they are already in the pool of express entry, and when they receive the invitation from the province, if they accept that invitation, their CRS score in the pool of express entry will boost up to 600 points, and it kind of guarantees a spot for them to immigrate to Canada. So these are the invitations by Saskatchewan. Also, Prince Edward Island, which is the tiniest province in Canada, and it's located in Atlantic Ocean area or maritime area, also invited a group of people. So under labor and express entry invitations, they issued 152 invitations. Under business work permit entrepreneur, they also invited 9 people, only 9 people. And these candidates need at least 72 points. Again, if you want to know more about these invitations, and of course, I have shared my link below. You can click on the link, and I will also share it underneath this video later on. And the other one is about Afghan citizens. So we all know about the disastrous situation in Afghanistan and the efforts by the government that they are trying to bring some of those Afghan citizens to Canada. So generally speaking, we are dealing with two major groups. One group are those Afghan citizens that they are already inside Canada. So the commitment by the government of Canada is that if they have already applied for refugee status inside Canada, they process those applications and expedite the, processing those applications, and maybe even they approve them without going through a hearing. The other group are those people who are inside Canada. They already have been approved as refugees. This means that they are protected people, but now they have applied for permanent resident. The government of Canada intends to process their permanent residence application as quickly as possible and allow them, their family members, to join them inside Canada. So that's one of the areas that the government of Canada is tackling. The other area, which was already wrapped up to a great extent, are those Afghan citizens that they were working with Canadian organizations in Afghanistan, like Canadian Army or NGOs, and now they need to be transferred to Canada. So the government of Canada tried to transfer many of those people from Afghanistan to Canada. If you want to know more details about the measures that the government of Canada is taking to process Afghan citizens, you can watch them. It is so sad for me and heartbreaking because I receive literally more than 10 messages per day from Afghan citizens that they ask for help to be resettled to Canada. Unfortunately, our hands are tied as immigration consultants. That these measures are mostly measures that are managed directly by the government of Canada, and no middleman like me could interfere with that much, unless I already have some clients that they fight for refugee inside Canada and they are Afghan citizens. Obviously, I will do my best to convince the government to expedite the processing of their application. But beside that, there's not much that we can do. So I have two questions here from Baris Media Network. Sorry, please, but my another question is, does elections impact the immigration processing? So the simple answer is no. The generally speaking, the Department of Immigration in Canada, which is called IRCC, Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada, is to a great extent independent of the government of Canada. So they are, of course, a government entity, but if the government changes and from conservative becomes liberal or from liberal becomes NDP or NDP liberal, whatever happens, at least in short term, it doesn't affect the way that IRCC behaves, especially when it comes to administration. It means that when it comes to processing times, or for example, reviewing the documents, decision making, those are governed by the Immigration Refugee Protection Act, which is an act of Parliament of Canada, and it has nothing to do with the actual government of Canada. What changes when the government changes are generic policies about immigration to Canada. For example, how many immigrants we are going to accept, or what would be the major categories of immigration. Those could change because of change of government, but that also takes a while to happen, and that simply means that you won't see any immediate changes to the processing of immigration applications because the government changed. So it's extremely unlikely to feel anything. I have been an immigration consultant during the Conservative Party leadership and during the Liberal Party leadership. We have seen many changes to the policies of immigration in Canada, but none of those policies immediately affected the processing of immigration. So you should be okay. Don't worry about any changes that the elections could bring, at least immediately. In long term, we might see some changes, but in short term, and especially when it comes to the processing of applications, we won't see any changes. So the next one is from Hasibullah Amani. Dear, my spouse lives in Canada and is sponsoring me to move there. She started the sponsoring program in November 2020. I did the medical examination in February 2021, as well as paying the biometric. Would you please let me know why it has taken so long, or is there any more documentation you need before it goes to the next step? Thank you. Obviously, I don't need anything from you. I'm not the government of Canada. I'm an immigration consultant, and I cannot comment on the specifics of your case because I don't know what is with your case. You need to get in touch with your immigration consultant, or if you don't have a consultant or a lawyer, you need to get in touch with the government and ask them questions, specifics to your case. But what I can tell you from what is going on with immigration right now is that unfortunately we have a huge backlog of spousal sponsorship cases since 2019. So it means that we have some cases that are still waiting to be processed for the past 2 years. So what happened was that the government of Canada faced many criticism around immigration of spouses to Canada. We had some rallies all over Canada about this issue, and eventually the Minister of Immigration, Minister Mendicino, announced that the government is going to increase their workforce for spousal sponsorship by 66% and process many spousal applications. So this is what they initiated in October 2020. That's why you saw some movements in your application, because they started issuing medical examinations, approving the sponsors, transferring the applications to local visa offices, those kind of things. So from anywhere between October 2020 to February and probably even March of 2021, we saw some positive movements in terms of processing of spousal applications. But guess what? Again, in March, we went to another lockdown, and also many of the visa offices outside Canada, they are not working, or they are not working full capacity. And because of that, unfortunately, suddenly we saw that spousal applications are stalled. So this is the situation that we are dealing with right now. We know that there are so many spousal applications out there. Obviously, you can get in touch with your member of parliament. You can get in touch with your immigration lawyer or consultant, directly send messages to the minister's office. But at the end of the day, they are not working properly. I also have many spousal applications that they are waiting to be processed. We are trying to do advocacy and convincing the immigration authorities to process those applications, but at the end of the day, unfortunately, the situation is because of the fact that many visa offices are not fully and are not working in full capacity, and waiting over the regular waiting time now has become norm, because in the past spousal applications were processed under 12 months for most applications, but nowadays most applications are processed more than 12 months. How can I get your WhatsApp number? Maureen, you can't. I won't share my WhatsApp number with anybody unless you book an appointment with me. If you are interested in booking an appointment with me, my sessions are not free. I charge $200 for half an hour of consultation. But if you're interested, this is the link. You can click it. And if you're interested, you can book an appointment with me. Okay, so the next one is that, hey, dear, I want a response to my wife. She's overseas. What's the first step to do it? I assume by response to my wife, sponsoring your wife. If you want to sponsor your wife, I have an article about spousal sponsorship, if it's spousal sponsorship outside Canada. So just let me share the link with you. And I will post the link below this video later on after I'm done with the live session, but you can click this link, read the article. It explains to you what are the steps that you need to take. First of all, who is an sponsor, who is the spouse, and then what kind of expectations that the government has. Now, if you want to do it yourself, you don't need to hire an immigration consultant or lawyer to help you. So if you want to do it yourself, go on IRCC's website and follow their instructions. But if you want to hire me or another consultant, then make sure that they have license and then go ahead with it. Now, for me, I'm an immigration consultant for the past 10 and a half years. My membership ID is R41037. So R417037. I just posted it here as well. You can check out my name, and if you're interested, you can decide to hire me. But you need to fill out our assessment form first. Okay, so the next one is I got above response from customer care of CIC and I have applied under self-employed category. So I don't see the response, but what I can tell you is that since March 2020, if you have submitted your application since March 2020 under the federal self-employed class, it's very likely that you have only received a temporary file number. The reason that you have only received a temporary file number is because Central Intake Office in Sydney, Nova Scotia is currently not processing those kinds of applications. All of those applications are currently stuck in that office. When they will resume processing the applications and when they will actually issue file numbers and enter them in the system, I don't know. What I know is that we did some research, and even before March 2020, we had a backlog of close to 9,000 people under the federal self-employed class, considering that the government, roughly speaking, the target by the government is to process 1,000 people under the business class, which is the collection of self-employed class and startup visa per year. You do the math. So it means that the wait time for this group needs to might be up to 9 years. Now, if you go to the website, they have increased recently the processing time for self-employed class from 23 months to 36 months, but in reality it could be a lot longer to process a self-employed class, especially because of the fact that we know that the applications that were filed after March 2020, and they have not even received their file numbers. It's just a temporary file number. And they also need to wait for the old applications to be processed before these applications to be processed. And so now either the government needs to increase the number of applications that are processed per year for the federal self-employed class, or we will face a huge wait time for processing of those applications. We had the same problem in 2015, 2014. At that time, the processing time of some of the applications was more than 50 months. And now it's a reminder of the same situation that we had about 6 years ago. So hopefully this situation will be over by some policies that the government changes, and we'll see better application. So yeah, Hiren says I got permanent application number in March. So you are one of the lucky ones. So your application is most likely among those 9,000 people that I told you that they are in wait line. So the way that self-employed class works is that they process the application here in CIO, just to make sure that you have included enough documentation to receive a file number. If they have issued a file number, it means that they will now forward the application to the visa office, but the visa offices are not processing these applications. Most visa offices are not processing these applications at this time. The last time I received a response about one of my clients under self-employed application was in March 2021. So for the past few months, most of those applications are in line. So unfortunately, it will take a very long time. Now, again, I don't know about the specifics of your case. If you want me to investigate the specifics of your case, I can file an ATIT request and receive the officer's notes or anything that is happening with your application and give you a report. We charge $100 to take care of that service. If you're interested, I just shared the link here. You can make the payment and we do the research for you and we'll give you a report of what's going on with your application. I won't become your immigration consultant. I will just tell you what's going on with your application. So do you find any, okay, so the next question is from Jimmy Phillip. Do you find any chance for IRCC to finalize FSW Express entry application in the next couple of months? So Jimmy, we don't know. Actually, I asked our journalists to get in touch with the authorities and ask for an official response to that. They haven't got back to us yet. So we are investigating this matter to see what's going on with the federal skilled worker class. Because if you recall last year, the government stopped accepting federal skilled worker class from March to August. Then they restarted accepting applications in August 2020, but then they stopped by mid-December. So since last December, the government not invited any federal skilled workers under the express entry system. I mean, what we speculate is that why they are doing this is because most of these applicants, they live outside Canada, and most of the visa offices outside Canada, they do not work properly. That's why they have turned their attention to Canadian experience class. This is our speculation. We don't have any official response from the government of Canada. We are investigating that. Sign up to our news channel. Just visit settler.ca. And hopefully, as soon as we get some response from them, we will post it there. And of course, I will also talk about it in my live sessions on this channel as well, on the live sessions. Thank you very much, Haran Patel. Yes, please just click on that link. And as I mentioned, we can investigate that for you. Okay, so I'm almost done. As I mentioned, I'm not in my regular settings today. So that's why this session will be a little bit shorter. By the way, the last draw of express entry was on August 2020, August 19th, and they invited 3,000 CEC candidates, and the CR score was 403, which is pretty much the same as the previous score, which was 404. So you might like to know that as well. Okay, so I'll be here for another couple of minutes. Let me see if I have more questions. So Inam Ram says, hello, sir. What is the process of acquiring your services? So we have, thank you very much for asking that. We have, there are two ways that you can do that. One is to book a consultation session with me right after this session. For example, I have a consultation session, yes, on a Sunday, but you can book a consultation session, and if you really like to hire me, you can hire me after that. The other option, which is free, we have actually a free assessment form on our website. You can fill out that assessment form. The assessment form is divided into 5 groups. So business program, skilled immigration, study in Canada, family reunification, and artists and athletes, because many of my clients, they are federal self-employed class clients. So if this is the link to that assessment form, you can fill out the assessment form. We will review the assessment form, not me, my team. And if they find any opportunities with you, they will get in touch with you. If you need consultation, they will guide you to book a consultation session with me. Or if you meet the requirements of an immigration option to Canada, then we can move forward and sign a retainer agreement. And the rest is history. So Martin says, what happens if the sponsored 21-year-old child becomes 22 because of the processing time? So we have something called age lock-in date under the immigration um, process. And I have an article about the age lock-in date. So when you submit an application, generally speaking, when you submit an application, and I just posted the link here, please read that article. But when you submit an application to the immigration authorities, usually, depending on the type of application, the day that they receive the application, the age of children is locked. So it doesn't matter how long the processing time takes. So if the child was 21 at the time that they locked the age of the child, now the processing takes 3 years, and the child is now 24. As long as that child is not married, their age will not affect the application. Then they still remain in the application because their age was locked. But if their circumstances change, for example, they get married, then unfortunately they will boot them out of your application. But you can click that link, and I have more details, because depending on whether it is a PNP application or it is just a sponsorship application or express entry application, the situations could be different in terms of when the age of the child will be locked. And it's important to know the exact policies, because that will affect your application. Now, for most children, I shouldn't say most children, but in many cases, when the child is 18 or younger, so we still have plenty of time. But for those children that they are already 21 or 20, you have to be very careful and submit the application in such a way that their age will be locked before the age of 22. So what happens? Oh, there's another question answer. One more question. Now, India visa office is working. So what I can say is that no. So I do not receive any communications from New Delhi or from Bangalore. And honestly, I don't know what's going on over there. I know the situation is dire in terms of COVID-19, but majority of our communications remain unanswered by them. So they might be working and processing, urgent or essential cases, but for regular applications, the offices in India, they are not active. And we have 3 offices over there, but they are not active in terms of non-essential cases. Obviously, if an essential situation happens, they will take care of that. And so the next one, what kind of documentation are required for citizenship if your grandfather is Canadian citizen and you want to become citizen now? So because a person's grandfather is a Canadian citizen, you do not become a Canadian citizen. So citizenship, and I just answered this very broadly, citizenship is either by birth or either at the time of birth, or either by way of naturalization. Obviously, with naturalization, you immigrate to Canada, and then you meet the requirements for citizenship applications, you apply for citizenship, and then they grant you citizenship. But in terms of the citizenship at the time of birth, the conditions are different. If you are born inside Canada, you become a Canadian citizen by birth. But if you are born outside Canada, then you can only become a Canadian citizen if you are born to a first generation citizen parent. And first generation citizen parent, it means a parent that is either born inside Canada or became a Canadian citizen by way of naturalization. This is for people who are born on or after April 17th, 2009. If you are born before April 17th, 2009, the situation becomes very complicated, and I cannot explain it here because I can talk about that for several minutes. It's beyond this. But for those situations, I need to look into the case Usually we have a consultation session with the person. I review their documents and their what they have to present, and I will tell them, is there a chance to claim citizenship for them or not? And we have successfully submitted some citizenship certificate applications in the past and non-successful ones as well. But generally speaking, I assess the situation to make sure that the person qualifies, and then we submit the application. Okay, so today's session is shorter because unfortunately I'm not in my regular settings, and at any point of time we could hear dogs barking and everything else. But thank you very much for attending today's session. My name is Al Parsai. I'm a regulated Canadian immigration consultant. I teach immigration consulting at Ashton College. I'm the author of the bestseller book, 88 Tips um, to immigrate to Canada. No, I'm not outside Canada. I'm in Richmond Hill, Ontario, which is a city north of Toronto. But thank you again. And if you're asking about where I am right now, I'm in Richmond Hill, but my operation is in downtown Toronto at Sheraton Center. We are located in the financial district of Canada, or Ontario, or Toronto. It depends who you ask. At the intersection of Queen Street West and Bay Street, and our business has had clients from more than 50 countries. Actually, we reached 53 last week. And I've been blessed to help people for the past 10 and a half years with several different kinds of applications: immigration to Canada, work permit, study permit, visitor's visa, ETA applications, inadmissibility cases, misrepresentation, rehabilitation, immigration hearings to Immigration Refugee Board of Canada, like immigration appeal cases, and Refugee Protection Division cases. So if you're interested, you can visit settler.ca, our website, to know more about our business. Okay. Two more questions. My question: I'm here in Canada now. I'm federal court case waiting for answer. I'm working, making 44,000. Okay, so I don't know what the course is, what the question is. Under SUV. Okay, so if you're applying, so the next question is about startup visa. So I need to see that letter of approval, letter of support, to make sure that this is a genuine letter of support and acceptable by the immigration authorities. If you're interested, you can book a consultation session with me. We'll review that and we will tell you what potentially could be done after that. Okay, thank you again. Sorry for cutting this short, but next week, every Sunday, I will show up. And last Sunday, I also couldn't do it because at that time I was in Germany. But hopefully, starting from next week, we will resume our regular sessions. And every Sunday at 10 a.m. Toronto time, I'll be live on YouTube. If you know Farsi or Persian, I'm also live every Friday at 10 a.m. Toronto time on Instagram. And our Instagram handle is Parsai Canada. But over there, we just do Persian stuff, not English stuff. Thank you again. See you next week.